Courtesy of Red, it's time for another Fireside Chat, the official podcast of Flames fans. It's go time.
Well, it's another interesting week, we'll say, for Flames fans. And as always, I'm Dan, and this week I'm here with Kevin Olenick from Shifts and Pucks. Kevin, you're here because Matt was supposed to be on the IR this week. How you doing?
I'm a pocket full of emotions, Dan, for a number of different reasons. I'm a Mariners fan. This was a tough night, Sunday night for us, but that's okay. There will be one of the biggest baseball games in Canadian history, franchise's history, is going on Monday. And as a Flames fan, I'm a pocket full of emotions as well with that. So I'm going to say not the greatest in terms of sports-wise, but personally well, Dan.
Good. And Matt wasn't supposed to be here. He got his surgery, so we had him on the IR. He was on the IR long enough for me to free up some cap room so I could bring Kevin in, but Matt's now listed as day-to-day, and he's joining us tonight. We'll see how much he can chat. Matt, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Had surgery on Friday morning at 10:30, and even though the operation was in my mouth, you can't shut me up. So
once the show's over, I'm going to put you back on the IR for cap relief until next week.
Okay.
That way we can afford to bring Kevin back next week. Well, guys, let's not talk about next week yet. Let's talk about the week that was, and I'd really rather not recap this, but I think we're going to have to. The Flames started last week on the 14th playing the Golden Knights, got their butts handed them 4-2. Schmid made 19 save after Hill left with an injury for the Golden Knights, and Calgary dropped their third in a row in this one. Kevin, what were your thoughts?
Well, they started off well. They had a great first period until Hill got hurt and Schmid came in, and then this franchise is cursed by backup goalies again, because last week Joel Hofer stands up on their head. But once Jack Eichel got going, the Golden Knights got going, and it was kind of an avalanche from there. I think that the two things that are going to be taken away from this game was Jack Eichel's move on Danil Maramanov, which Miramanov, I think we'll get into Danil Miramanov, but like for a guy that needed a big game, he didn't have it. And Colton Sisson's hit on Zayne Parekh, I think, is the other takeaway from that game as well. But they started off really well, and it kind of flattened out, unfortunately.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Flames always tend to have a bit of a difficult time against the Golden Knights, and like even when the Flames actually do come away with the victory, it kind of needs to be an all hands on deck effort, and any minor mistakes the Knights are right there to pounce on. And it seemed that like as the game went on, any mistakes that happened ended up in back of the net.
Yeah, I think that's fair. This was, like Kevin said, I thought they started well. I thought the Flames looked good up front early and even defensively early, but I liked their offensive efforts in the beginning. But they made a couple mistakes, and then they just got beaten. And I think that they deserved to in this game.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to hear me say this a few times. I hope this doesn't become a drinking game. Yegor Sharangovich did not have a good night.
I don't think Sharangovich had a good week.
Nope, he did not.
Well, the next game, they went to Utah. They took on the Utah Mammoth in the Utah Mammoth's home opener, where they debuted new jerseys, a new mascot, and a renovated arena. Dustin Wolf was not in net for the first time this season, and Dustin Cooley came in, made 29 saves for Calgary. Didn't end up getting the win, though, as Calgary dropped this one 3-1. Matt, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on this one?
Well, it was the Cooley show on both ends of the ice, with Logan and Devin being in the net for us, Logan on their team. I thought that Cooley played an amazing game.
I think he was the best Flame in this game.
He gave the Flames every opportunity. Yeah, he gave the Flames every opportunity to win. Anytime your backup throws a .937 save percentage, you expect to get 2 points. And unfortunately, the offense did not show up at all in this game.
Pretty flat. Kevin?
The shot's like 28-6 for Utah, I think, after the second period.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to Devin Cooley for his effort there. It was outstanding. He deserved a better fate. And all four lines, quite frankly, struggled. The Calgary line struggled. The Backlund line struggled. But I think it was reasonable. Honestly, I thought Adam Klapka was the best forward in that game. And as John Tortorella would say once, no offense to Adam Klapka, but you should not be the best forward. It's great for Adam Klapka, not great for the rest of the team. And Utah's speed just ventilated the Flames all over the ice. And it was fortunate it was 3-1 because it could have been worse.
Yeah, it's fair. I think maybe the Flames' worst showing so far. Would anybody disagree?
I think so as well.
Like
even the 6-1 game against Vegas, I thought the Flames played a better game than they did against Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kevin?
this was their worst game for sure. It was their worst game for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next game, the Flames had to take on the Golden Knights again. Last week, Matt and I were trying to figure out where Huberdeau was because we didn't even hear his name at the home opener. But Matt, we found him. We found you. And he's now back with the Flames. Came into this game in Vegas as his usual spot in the lineup. Actually got a goal in his first game of the season, which was kind of nice. And we saw the Flames with another big loss to the Golden Knights. Actually used both their goalies in this one. Dustin Wolf and Devin Cooley both played, and the Flames got trounced 6-1. Kevin, thoughts on this one?
They had in the first period, they had the offensive possession numbers. They actually were for the most part, especially in the first half of the game, they were taking it to the Golden Knights. They had some opportunities. One shot went off an elbow. But Vegas, you allow a goal in the first minute, and then you just it's the power play of Vegas is deadly. Vegas murder, hurdle, tick and tack and toe. And it just, you couldn't handle their skill. This was I don't mean to single him out, but this was probably Kevin Ball's worst game as a Flame. The first giveaway, Marner blew him out. And then the only forward line, unfortunately, that was going was the cat. I thought Huberdeau actually looked really good. I thought that line of Kadri, Huberdeau, and Farabee looked really good. I thought everyone else, and especially this, I'll add this: Yegor Sharangovich did not have a good night, but neither did Morgan Frost or Matt Coronado. Quite frankly, those three did not have a good week, and. It was a rough night all around in terms of just the Vegas just takes, as Matt says, every little mistake that the Flames make, Vegas just takes advantage of it, and you need all hands on deck. It's just tough. The Flames are not in Vegas's league. You could clearly see that, and yeah.
Matt, anything you want to add to that?
Well, just to kind of look back at the first 6 games in total, realistically being 1 year older and how those same players can regress over the course of one off season, and everybody looks a little bit slower and not as quite on their toes, and it doesn't take much for the wheels to fall off the wagon. And last year the Flames, I feel, caught teams off guard by their hard work and tenacity, and people knew heading into this year that you have to actually give some effort against the Flames, especially with how they performed down the stretch. And teams are not taking the Flames for granted, and thus far they're taking them out behind the woodshed and having their way with them, frankly, and it's not been pretty.
I think that, as you guys have said here, the effort's not there. I mean, Sharangovich all week didn't have a great effort. In the last game, we were saying Klapka really did. Like, we need the top guys to be the top guys. And to me, that's what we're not seeing. When Klapka's your best forward, I mean, as much as I like Klapka, you've got an issue there. And I don't know what they have to do to get this team going, but Huberdeau, Kadri, Coronado, these guys need to be the guys that are driving the offense for the Calgary Flames right now.
Dan, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
There was some talk last night on some of the broadcasts about the body language. Did you notice that? Did you feel any of that? I think specifically Kadri in the penalty box.
I felt frustration from the team, which I think I'd be worried if there wasn't. I mean, these guys are not where they want to be. They're frustrated by their game. Some of it's their own doing. I think they're taking way too many penalties in most games, and this is not a team that can afford to be on the PK. But yeah, I think that there's some frustration there for sure.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, well, and you look at this team, and it doesn't get any easier. And realistically, over the next stretch, they needed to have 3 or 4 wins at this point in order to, stave off some of the more difficult games coming up next week and beyond. And, there's not really an easy game between now and November. So it's going to be tough for this team to rebound. And if they don't, say win 4 out of the next 6 games, they could find themselves already done for the season by the time the calendar flips to the next month.
Well, right now the Flames have 6 games played, 1 win, 5 losses for a total of 2 points. The Flames are tied at the bottom of the league right now with San Jose, and above them we even see teams like Chicago and other terrible teams. This is not good. And like Matt said, these guys, if this keeps going, I think this season could slip away from them very quickly.
Let's be honest, though, too. And I don't think people, I know everybody's got to go through this, but this was absolutely, what a brutal schedule for the Flames to start. First of all, I hope next time that there is an Olympic year, they find a way to make this schedule a little bit easier than this. How are you playing 2 games and 3 games in 3.5 nights? How is that even remotely okay? I think the schedule was a bit of a BS, to be honest with you.
I don't think this early in the season we can blame it all on the schedule, though.
No, I'm not. Let me be clear. The Flames' effort hasn't been good enough, but this schedule was brutal. I think we do have to acknowledge that. And I think there was a couple of other things that have been going on here. I think, unfortunately, Devin Cooley and Prostitov did not have a good enough camp that they probably played Dustin Wolf more than they wanted to. I mean, yes, Devin Cooley had a great game against Utah. There's no question about that. And he also was a bright light in that Vegas game in Vegas. He played a really sound third period, and that was good. But they weren't confident enough that they had to play Wolf these first 3 games against Edmonton, Vancouver, and St. Louis. And I think if Vladar was here, Vladar would have got one of those games. I think that would have been a massive difference in terms of getting Wolf ready. And I think also...
But one game's not the issue here, I don't think.
No, I know, but that's one part of it. I'll get into a couple of other things. 2, look, I get the love for Zayne Parekh, but I have to wonder how having him here is. Still don't think having him here has been. I feel like the Flames are somewhat handcuffed by this decision because I think ideally, and you guys talked about it last week, would have been better to have him in the AHL, but you have to play him. You can't have him sit. And again, Daniil Miramonov, I don't get this decision. I don't get why Miramonov is still on this roster. I still scratch my head on that, but they weren't able to address their blue line in the offseason. That handcuffed them.
So you're bringing up a lot of things here, Kev. Let's just slow down and go through some of these things because it sounds like you're just trauma dumping on us.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to trauma dump.
I know we've all a long week, but I want to make sure we can talk about some of these things. So you talked about the goaltending. I'll say I know what you're saying about the goaltending, but the first 6 games, I would expect Dustin Wolf to have a heavy load. Like that's at the start of the season for a guy under 25, he should be able to carry this kind of load to get started. And after the good game Cooley had against the Mammoth, I think I would look to him again. Like he didn't have a great camp, but he's shown he can do it.
Yeah, well, realistically, they do need, regardless of who the backup is moving forward, they need to include him more in the lineup if they want Wolf to continue to play at a good level, because he seems to be already a little on the overly fatigued side of things. It's going to be a tough season regardless for this team, though. Like, I don't think that the issues come, like, is the season going to matter if Prosvetov or Cooley is awesome? No. There are like 15 more players that, need to be pulling their weight and haven't been.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think, re-signing Wolf to a 7 years, $7 million, he's got to be able to carry a starter load. He can't be carrying a 1A, 1B load like he did last year.
But it is an adjustment for him because this is his first year that he is number 1. So I think the start is not surprising for me.
I just think there's more issues than the goalie.
I agree. I'm not in the least bit worried with Dustin Wolf, but I'm kind of just, what I'm doing is trying to go from goaltending defense to forward, which talk about.
Let's go to defense then. So Zayne Parekh. I mean, Matt and I were at the home opener. When it was announced he was going to be in the lineup, there was audible cheers through the arena. We've all talked about this with Parekh and with many first-round picks before him. Fans want to see them. I think the Flames are doing a good job of managing Parekh's minutes right now when they do put him in. Like, he's kind of playing that bottom pair. And yeah, he's a bit of a liability, but we knew he would be. But again, I don't think we can put all this on Parekh right now. I mean, when you look at the options, Parekh greater than Miramanov, Parekh greater than Bean. Like, for the options that are there, I think he's probably the best one in most cases. Kevin?
Yeah, I actually would agree. I think I don't even think it's really the issue is Parekh. Unfortunately, they need to upgrade this blue line massively anyway. Because like Kevin Ball is fine, but he's probably more of a 4. Joel Hanley is fine. He's more of a 6. Jake Bean is a tweener, and Braden Bahal is inconsistent. And again, Miramanov is a mystery.
But when you're saying that you upgrade this blue line, I think that gets us back to what we saw in the Treliving days, where you'd mortgage the future for now, and it would get us nowhere. Like, I know what you're saying, but I just don't know that now is the right time to make those upgrades.
Well, it depends on who you're bringing in. Like, I don't think you'd have to necessarily. I mean, they were looking at Bowen Byram and Keandre Miller in the last offseason, and that didn't happen. So, I mean,
those would be big upgrades, though. Those would be costly upgrades.
Pardon me?
Those would be costly upgrades.
Yeah, but I mean, at least we have to acknowledge that this blue line isn't good enough. Period. Like, defensively, they're not good enough. Hopefully, they can get a young defenseman if they trade Rasmus Anderson, that a young defenseman comes back, but they just overall need to continue to improve the blue line.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the blue line?
Well, frankly, with both the forward group and the defense group, I think you just kind of have to stand pat for now, because the one good thing is that you have guys like Gradin, Honzek, etc. in the AHL developing properly down there. Guys like Bruce Stavich and, a whole litany of guys developing well down there, getting the prime minutes that they need to take that next step into the NHL. And yeah, like, you look at the Flames blue line, Uyghur is probably a number 2. Ball's a number 4, Anderson's a number 5, Hanley's a 6-7, and everybody else is not really an NHL player. That's 2 major holes in your lineup, and we're just shoehorning people up the roster because that's all we can do. And realistically, like, this team needs 2 top 4 defensemen to be having a good blue line, and they just don't have that right now.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know where you find those right now. I think if you just make a lateral move, you're probably not going to improve this. I don't know if you make a move just to make a move. I think you're kind of stuck with this for the year.
Yeah, and I feel that that's just the best way to go about it, is if you're going to suck, you just suck. And it's not the best situation, but there's not really any easy fix to it other than just organically building through the draft and, take your lumps as you may, and, maybe plug a hole on July 1st type of thing. Because the Flames are going to have so much cap space on July 1st that throw $20 million at a few defensemen to try and, plug that hole. But there's not really any way that you can do that right now.
Are either of you guys surprised that Miramanov, I mean, I'll pick on him, I have no problem with that, is a Flame right now? He's played 1 game, he's looked terrible. Like, why would they not waive him and send him to the Wranglers to get his game going?
Well, he is a quasi NHL player, and he doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. Sort of like Tyson Barrie last year, where you can just play him, and if you need a fill-in guy, and it's fine. It would not have been my decision to keep him after training camp. I would have waived him and kept Soloviev, but not much you can do.
What do you think, Kev?
Well, I think that's the frustration, right? Is you lose Solovyov, and maybe he got passed on the depth chart by Kuznetsov. That's fine, but like, it just feels weird that you took the risk of waiving Solovyov and not waiving Miramanov. Like, that is, I don't understand it. I'm just like, it's a head scratcher to me that Miramanov is still on this Flames roster. Like, I honestly, I've praised Craig Conroy for a lot of things in this management group. This is by far the most mysterious. Like, I really don't get it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Soloviev, the Soloviev Miramanov thing is not the issue or anywhere near the issue, but it's, it's one cog in the wheel.
It's an asset management issue, though, I think, Dan.
Yeah.
I think that you get a guy that is a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
He needs a guy that you probably, if he was in this lineup, I think a lot of fans would be like, okay, we're struggling, but at least Solovyov is learning how to be an NHLer. You got him, you ended up losing him for nothing.
Yeah,
and I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and with a team that needs some jump right now, I think, you were mentioning earlier, Kevin, like, if Kuznetsov is past him on the depth chart, then put Kuznetsov on there. But it just feels like right now there's a bunch of defensemen that maybe they just need some youth infusion. Kuznetsov or Poirier or somebody, just, someone that looks like they want to do this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
Well, and realistically, I don't mind, just kind of keeping the veterans and rolling them out again this year. It's one of those that, like, everything kind of went their way last year, and you knew that the tide was going to swing the other way, and especially with everybody being a year older. And this team needs to rebuild and tear down in the worst way. So having veteran guys that aren't very good, even though, like, it is not fun to watch, is in the long-term best interest of this team. That way, like, a year from now or the trade deadline, you just move out any bodies that you can, let the young guys come up organically after the trade deadline, and start to ship out everybody that you can, and try to, because like this team is inevitable. Will be San Jose, will be Chicago, will be Anaheim. Like, the deadbeats of the league for the next 3 years. Like, there's no way of getting the genie back in the bottle. Like, this team is going to be bad. And
I don't disagree with you, Matt, but I guess if you think they're going to be bad, why not give the young guys like Kuznetsov or Poirier some play time? Like, why wait till the deadline? Why not say, hey, you're bad, you're better than Bean, you're coming up?
Well, and I think you'll start to see those guys phase in over time, but I think that you kind of have to treat the AHL as the most important team in the organization and let them have as much success down there as possible and grow as a group. So that way, when you start to transition those guys up in, say, December, January, which is when I think, things will start to change over, that they can have a bit of a runway to success at that point, where you start to see guys like Bean and Miromanov getting waived or traded.
Yeah, I don't think it'll make much difference in the results, but I think if you want to build, you've just got to give young guys ice time. All right, well, let's move to forwards then. Kevin, any part of your trauma dump with the forwards you want to get into? I feel like we're your Flames therapist here.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm trauma dumping.
That's okay.
Well, I think we need to have a conversation about Yegor Sharangovich. We kind of understood last year with Yegor Sharangovich. He had that late preseason injury. It took a while for him to come back. He ended up, I think, he had 20 goals last year, right? At the end of all of last year.
Yeah. Right around there.
He doesn't have a point this year. I think he's gone 3 games without a shot. Bieksa last night pointed out on him on Hockey Night in Canada the late third period attempt to check at mid-ice. There was also the goal 3 where I have no idea and what on God's green earth this guy, what he was doing on that play. But he just hasn't looked really good. And I was of the opinion that, and I mean, they sent down Gridden, and I kind of understood that, but there's a part of me that thinks that it might be time for Sharangovich to have a seat in the press box.
You're not moving that deal, so the best you can do is sit him in the press box.
Yeah, it will be a very tough thing to trade him. But I think that there's an argument that he's probably been the Flames' worst forward this year.
Yeah. I think undoubtedly you'd have to say that. Like everybody else, like even if they're not as good of a player in terms of raw talent, like take a guy like Lomberg, like he's still putting out 100% effort, even though it's Lomberg, where Sharangovich has the talent to be a 25-30 goal guy and is just non-existent.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen ups and downs from him as a Flame. He was great in his first year. He was hurt for most of last year. I don't know if it's just a mental game, like you guys, like Kevin said, I don't know if he just needs to sit down for a bit. I'm not going to write Sharangovich off yet. I think he might be able to do this, and I like him, Frost, and Coronado together, but I'm thinking that he might just need some time to sit down and, compose his thoughts and put someone else in the lineup.
Yeah, I thought Gridden and Coronado were developing some chemistry, and I think that's great for the future. I think the right thing was to send Gridden down to the Wranglers. Please don't get me wrong.
No, I think you're right. Let him go be the guy there.
Yeah, but I think I think what Ryan Huska has to also balance out here, like I think we all will acknowledge this team is probably a bottom 5 team. I think we can all agree with that. Yep. But what has to happen this year is effort has to be given in. Like you cannot have these 2 games that you had against Utah and Vegas become part of the norm. Like I can take losing. I can't take losing 8-1, 7-1, getting outshot 28-6. I don't think that that's beneficial for the franchise. I think that if you continue to fight and show an effort, and you're still a bottom 5 team, I think most fans would be fine with it. I honestly do. I think the fans would be okay with, like, because they understand where the team is at, but they want to at least see the effort.
Yeah, like I personally don't care if I'm watching the game and like they're trying and they come out on the losing side. It's like, oh, okay. Like take the St. Louis game for an example, where like they were the better team for most of the game and yet lost 4-2. And it's like, okay, well, that was enjoyable enough. But it's when they give efforts like the Vegas game where, any reasonable fan would probably turn it off after like it was 3-4-5-1. Like it's just not entertaining in any way, shape, or form to see your team getting their heads shoveled in and them not actually looking like they're giving an effort.
If this is going to be a bottom 5 team, I think they need to be rewarding effort. And, sort of like we were just talking about with Sharangovich, is if you're not going to be able to make a lot of moves on this team, nor are you going to want to if you're a bottom 5 team. But you know what? If a guy's not doing it, either drop him down the line or put someone else in. I mean, I think sending Gridden down was the right move for now, but there's other guys that maybe need that opportunity. And I think you can't be afraid to sit a guy like Sharangovich for 3-4 games. Say, hey, you weren't putting in the effort we wanted. Even if we're losing, you're not putting the effort we wanted. Someone else is going to come in and at least try to do better.
And it creates competition.
It does.
Which I think helps a lot. I think helps the team kind of get a little bit more motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the team, I'll go to Matt with this first. Matt, what do the Flames have to do to turn this around? Is it just effort?
I think you just have to stay the course, and there's not any quick fixes. It's not like the Flames have 4 or 5 guys that are ready to step into top 6 roles on the Flames farm team either. So, like, as much as like it might suck over the next month or 2 or the whole season, they might end up being a team that just gets their head shoveled in, like San Jose last year, where like no matter how hard you try, you're just gonna lose most of the games. And it might be one of those seasons for the Flames, and like we're not really used to that because we've always been in the mushy middle. And we'll see. It's just, you look at like the caliber opponents that the Flames have for the rest of the month, and you have 5 playoff teams in Ottawa who normally has our number. Like there's no easy games for this team to kind of right that ship.
What do you think, Kevin? What do the Flames have to do to turn this around?
I'm kind of with Matt. I think for the most part, you stay the course. I think there's not really a guy. I mean, maybe Rory Cairns is a guy that you might bring up who had a pretty good camp. That's the only Wrangler I see that could make a bit of a difference in terms of like maybe, but that is it. I think that I think you make lineup changes as needed. And you make sure that the effort is there. I don't think you need to press the panic button per se, but I think just reward effort and that's kind of it. Like, let's start rewarding effort and go from there. And
yeah, I was going to say reward effort. And, if we've got guys like Sharangovich who's not putting in the effort, maybe they either need to go down the lineup or be taken out. Give time to those guys that are looking good or that need the time. I think that's going to be the biggest thing here. I think Honzig has looked good enough to stick around. Give him some more time. See what he's got. I think you need to give Frost and Farabee a little more time because you've got to get them going after last year. Like, I think you need to strategically be playing these guys and not being afraid to shuffle your players up, even if it's, Zari coming out and Kirkland coming in or something like that. Like, you can't just say, these are the top 12. We're going to keep running with them in the same configuration every night.
Yeah.
Are either of you guys surprised that Zari's on the fourth line?
No.
Kevin?
No.
He hasn't played well to
Nope.
me, so he's right where he should be.
Yeah, he didn't have a great preseason. Maybe if you're gonna put Kirkland in, he's probably gonna take that fourth line, and then you're gonna put Zary with Frost and Coronado, or maybe Hodden. I'm assuming if you sit Sharangovich, the guy to sit is Sharangovich, and then you're putting in Kirkland. You're putting in Kirkland between Lomberg and Klapka, and then you're moving Zary up, and maybe there is something there. I think he's been okay to start the year. I don't think he's been particularly fantastic. There's a part of me, like, if you are going to make a trade, I do wonder if that I think the obvious three names on this, if you're making a trade, are Kadri, Anderson, and Coleman. But I do wonder if there's a hockey trade there. I wonder if Zary is a guy that they look at doing something.
I think if I'm another GM, you're going to have to really entice me to take your fourth line center at 3.75.
I think he can be a hell of a hockey player, though, Dan. I really do.
But I don't know who's willing to keep that much money for a guy that can show up sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, and it might be a situation similar to the Cousins trade, where, an overpriced young player who's not fitting in somewhere that,
Yeah, I could see it being somewhat like the Frost Farabee deal, too, where you just have two guys that need a change of scenery going for, another two guys that need a change of scenery.
Yeah.
So with that, Kevin, this one kind of surprised me. You said you wanted to talk about the value of Ryan Lomberg on this team. What do you want to go there and talk about?
Well, so after the Sissons Parekh hit, I was noticing on a couple of people on Twitter talking about Ryan Lomberg and not understand what Ryan Lomberg does for this team. And you guys kind of talked about it. He makes an effort. It's not spectacular. I'm not coming here. I want to come here and say that Ryan Lomberg is an absolute superstar. But there's a very clear connection with him and this team and how he conducts himself professionally. He puts in an effort every night. He did end up fighting Sissons on Saturday. People were reacting, well, why didn't he do anything on Tuesday? It was with 4 minutes left in the game. He wasn't on the ice, and unless this was WWE, he was not going to do a run-in on Colton Sissons.
You can't just tag him in for a fight.
No, and I also don't – I think that what kind of annoys me with the conversations with Lombergs and Klapkas is I just don't feel that people – I think people just want pure offense in their hockey. And that's not what Lomberg and Klapka are, but what Lomberg and Klapka can do, and what fourth lines generally should be doing, is trying to put your team in a position where your first line can be in a better position on the ice, or your next line, whatever line that is. Create some energy, work the boards, wear down defense. That's the role of what Lomberg and Klapka ultimately need to do. If this team was a Stanley Cup contender, I would be saying Ryan Lomberg should be in and out of the lineup. But on this team, it's hard for me to take Lomberg out of the lineup. I don't know if you guys see it the same way.
Yeah, you mentioned he's not a superstar. He's not brought in to be a superstar. Like you said, this isn't all offense. Ryan Lomberg has a role. I think he plays that role well. Can he go beat up everybody all the time? No. But I think what a lot of fans miss from Lomberg, too, is what he's doing outside the room. The boys love him. The fans love him. He's a funny guy. I think especially in a time like this where the Flames aren't doing well, I think he's part of the levity there. I don't see who you put in Lomberg's spot. He's been brought in for a reason. He got 13 points last year. That's, I would say, 10 more than I expected him to get. He's doing that job well. And like you said, Kevin, you can't just have, 4 lines of pure offense. You need a guy like him, not just to be the policeman, but I think also for the levity. And The boys love him. I mean, what was the fight? I forget which game it was when he fought somebody, and all the boys were cheering for him and coming over and tapping his glove as he was going to the penalty box. Like, he's got a place in this team.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, well, and how do you say he was brought in a large portion to foster this, attitude and mentality on the ice, and especially as the Flames are transitioning into something new, that, you need to have players learning by example, and having somebody like a Lomberg who just exudes everything that you want from a winning team. Of course his talent doesn't measure up, but he won a cup with the Panthers, and he is a good teacher for the rest of the younger guys. It's just, there's only so much he can do, but he is doing his job 100%.
For anyone who wants him out of the lineup, my big question would be, who are you proposing we put in? Like, we've talked about the fourth line before. You're not putting Gridden on the fourth line. It's not a good use of his talent. So what are you doing? You're bringing up Clark Bishop? Like, is that any better here? I don't know who you're replacing Lomberg with.
Yeah.
Like, if I look at the options here on the Wranglers, I mean, you've got Matvei Gridden, Jacob Battaglia is not ready for the NHL. Sunaev's not a fourth-line guy. William Stromgren, maybe, but I'd like to see him higher up the lineup. Carter King, Andrew Basha's not that guy. Parker Bell's not that guy. Siona's not that guy. Dryden Hunt, sure. Clark Bishop, or so what? We're replacing him with Dryden Hunt? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fans love this guy. And I think that there's people that will perpetually go on Twitter or any online platform and they'll complain about the Flames, even if they won the cup. It would be, it took them 7. It should have been 4. If they would have played Lomberg less, they would have won it in 4. If, they wore Blasty for 9 more games, they would have been undefeated. Like, people just want something to complain about. And this is, to me, of all the things to complain about, this is the stupidest thing to complain about right now.
Yeah. It's not Lomberg is not the biggest problem on this club.
Lomberg is not a problem on this club.
No.
I mean, again, you need that role. So if we take Lomberg out, who are you putting in there that's going to be net positive? And they say in baseball, wins against replacement. Who do you put in for Lomberg that gives you a better wins against replacement number? I don't see anybody.
No, at this point, there really isn't.
I mean, unless we're getting McGrattan out of retirement, there's no other option.
Yeah.
So, to me, this is a silly conversation for anybody to be having.
I wanted to bring it up because I think it's important to. I think people are crapping on it, and it kind of bugged me a little bit because it just bugs me a little bit that this kind of thing is being talked about, because I feel like at times the critics on Twitter don't have enough hockey knowledge to understand what's going on. Like, when I read that, I don't know, what does Ryan Lomberg do? I'm kind of questioning your hockey knowledge.
Kevin, sorry. I need to show you where the block button is on Twitter. So when you find these people, you just not listen to them anymore. Because if that's your issue, I don't want to follow you. Better at that.
Yeah, I'm doing more muting quietly, but
this is just, I don't know. To me, doesn't warrant any more time than we've given it.
Okay, enough.
Kevin, any other topics for this week you want to talk about?
Well, I guess the only other thing that I'm kind of wondering, maybe this is a future conversation to have. I don't. Maybe we don't have this conversation yet, but maybe I'll just put this out there at some point. Do we see Zayne Parekh go to the World Junior team?
I think it's too early.
I agree it's too early, but if the Flames are basically in the same holding pattern and he's the number 6, I would expect them to let him go for the couple of weeks.
But also, if the Flames are this bad, do you think they'll want him? Will he be invited?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Hockey Canada recognized after the catastrophe of last year of not having him on the team, they're going to have him on the team.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're a ways from that. So let's save that for when this team keeps losing. We need some content near January, boys.
Fine. Okay.
Because I think we're gonna need to cover some weeks coming up. Matt, anything else you want to talk about for this week?
Not really. Just looking forward to seeing if the team can rebound next week.
Well, then let's look ahead to next week. We have 4 games before we talk next. The Flames are back at home for 2 on Monday night at 7:30 on Calgary election night. They'll be taking on the Winnipeg Jets. That's a 7:30 start time. Then Wednesday, the 22nd, they have the Montreal Canadiens here at 6:30 start time. And then they play the Jets second week in a row. They've had the same team twice, once at home, once on the road. Because Friday night at 6, they take on the Jets in Winnipeg. And then they're back here on Sunday for a 6 p.m. start against the New York Rangers. Last week, Matt got the first win of the season in the prediction game, predicting they would lose all 3. I thought we'd win against Utah and lose against Vegas. So, Matt, for better or for worse, you're up 1-0.
I'm going to be Debbie Downer once again. 0-4.
Wow. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, first of all, during election nights, the Flames win. So I think they beat Winnipeg at home. I think they surprise everybody. Usually when everything is down and we think that the doom and gloom is here, they struggle. So I think they're going to beat Winnipeg at home. They're going to beat Montreal on Wednesday. I think they lose in Winnipeg. And I think they're going to beat. I'm going to be overly optimistic. I think they're going 3-1 this week.
Wow. Well, I'm thinking about mine. I'll go back to Matt. Matt, do you put Cooley in at all?
Yeah.
Where?
I'd probably put him in the Montreal game or the second Winnipeg.
What about you, Kev?
I would put him in the second Winnipeg game, and I would give Dustin Wolf Winnipeg Montreal. That should be fine for him. But I would give Cooley the Friday game in Winnipeg.
All right, I'm going to say that the Flames lose both Winnipeg and win the other 2. I'm going to be not as optimistic as Kevin. I think they'll beat Montreal and I think they'll beat New York because I think those are 2 teams that don't matter as much and the pressure might be off them a little bit, being Eastern teams. I would probably play Cooley against Montreal and then make a decision for New York after that. But I'm expecting Cooley to play Montreal and Wolf the other 3.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, New York, I still don't know if they're a good team or a bad team this year. So this was the hard one for me to predict. But I think if the Flames want this and being at home and being off the road for a bit, I mean, even their one trip to Winnipeg is not that much of a trip, and they've got a day on either side of it. I think that if they can get some rest and get home, they can win a couple of these.
Yeah, it's like in terms of like just the teams that they're facing. I'm not sure about the Rangers. I was higher on the Rangers to start the year than they appear to be. I mean, I'm very high on Winnipeg. I think they're the best team in the Central, but they're also on a winning streak. They're probably due for a loss and a letdown game. It's probably that Monday game's a trap game against Calgary, and
like Matt said to start the show, teams aren't underestimating Calgary, but at what point do they? And I think that's where the Flames could start to pounce.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking this week. This is kind of like when it's doom and gloom, the Flames kind of rise up, and it wouldn't surprise me if they get a couple wins this week.
Well, gentlemen, I'm really hoping for the sake of next week's conversation, we get a couple wins. Because, Matt, if we're 0-4, I think we're going to need to get ourselves another beer sponsor for next week because it's going to be a rough October.
Yeah.
We'll have to call our friends at Bow River Brewing and get them to send us some product.
Worst time to be on medication I can't drink with.
That's okay. I'll drink your share.
I'll give you my share as well.
I have no problem drinking your share, my friend. All right, gentlemen. Well, we will we'll talk to, if Matt's healthy next week, he might be here. If not, some combination of Kevin and or Matt, depending on what the salary cap allows us to do. We will talk to you guys next week.
And as always, go Flames go.
Fireside Chat is hosted by Dan Stevenson, co-hosted by Matt DeBorg. This episode produced and edited by Peter Marino. Fireside Chat is licensed under Creative Commons license. For full license details, visit firesidechat.ca.